My name is Kate Kaufman, and I'm with the Indiana Youth Institute. I just want to take a couple of minutes here to thank all of the partners who helped bring this event together and acknowledge a gentleman who had a vision for this event. Chuck Schmidt, who some of you may know or not. Chuck, do you mind standing just quickly? Chuck is the gentleman in peach. About a year ago, Chuck attended an event that the Indiana Youth Institute put on with the Chamber of Commerce and a couple of other organizations, the Department of Workforce Development at Subaru. And he said, you know, I work with a mentoring organization in DeKalb County, and I'd love to see this happen in your region. And Chuck and I played phone tag for a while, and then we got in a meeting together to talk about it, and I thought there'd be 4 or 5 people there. And when I arrived, 37 people from this community were at the planning meeting, and we had a great discussion. Chuck, you can sit down, don't worry, you don't have to stand the whole time. But he has a heart for the kids in this region, and he really wanted to see conversations happen here and connect what's going on. And so I just wanted to thank him for really being kind of the drive behind this. And then Judy Sorg at the Community Foundation was instrumental in kind of keeping that going and bringing people from all 4 counties together, the economic development staff, Ivy Tech, the high schools, the Impact Institute, and every one of those individuals played a critical role in getting everyone here today. So, you know, we kind of kept commenting, oh, you know, maybe the event will have 50 people, maybe it'll have 75. Then we were like, oh, maybe we'll have 125. We have almost 150 people here today. And I think that's just amazing how much you care about the students in this region. So I want to thank you for coming. I'm going to turn this over to our partners at the Chamber. And, you know, I just hope you take away a lot of information. There will be an evaluation at the end. So please be honest, because as we plan future events, we want to make sure that they meet the region's needs. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elisa Deck, and I am the Director of College and Career Readiness at the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to go ahead and ask my panelists to come and go ahead and take a seat as I introduce them, and we get started for today. We want to thank all of you for being here today, and again, what an important opportunity it is to bring the education and community and business leaders together. So I want to introduce our panel of employers that will be speaking today with just what I want you to do. I'll introduce each one of them, or one at a time, and I want you just to share briefly a little bit about your organization, number of employees that you have, and anything else you want to share about your company. Okay? Scott, we will start with you. Scott Flugeft is the CEO of Ashley Industry and Molding. Oh, yep, you might need those. Scott, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. So my name is Scott Flugeft, and I'm with Ashley Industrial Molding. We are a manufacturer of molded and painted fiberglass assemblies up in Ashley and over in Kendallville. We've been in business as Ashley Industrial Molding for about 14 years. Prior to that, it was maybe some of you recognize the names of Eagle Pitcher and Cambridge, Meridian, as that facility changed hands over the years. But it was taken private in 2001. We've grown into also a location out in central Iowa as well, and we employ a little over 300 people locally in the multi-county region, pulling from Ohio, Michigan, Northeast Indiana as well. So it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thanks, Scott. Next, we have Marty Palmer, who is the president of Auburn Gear. Marty?
Good morning, everyone. I'm with the Auburn Gear, which if you went straight out this building across the creek, you'd be at Auburn Gear. It has a long history here in the Auburn area. It was founded in 1938 as Warner Gear, as part of Borg Warner, and over the years it evolved into Auburn Gear. We produce planetary gear boxes and differentials for a variety of markets, anywhere from agriculture to construction to military, cranes, off-highway, the weekend warriors with climbing rocks, and those type of markets. We employ 170 people currently, but we're growing very rapidly and looking for talent to grow. Probably 40 to 50% of our employees have technical degrees or engineering degrees, so we're very interested in supporting the growth of our company for the future.
Thanks, Marty. Next, Natalie Gilligan is the Director of Human Resources at the
Nishikawa Cooper.
There you go. Cooper, thank you. Go right ahead.
Okay. We've been around for over 25 years in Indiana, and we actually have right now 3 facilities. One that just opened up in Fort Wayne this year to help with some of our increased business. We have 2 other facilities. Our main facility is also our corporate office in Topeka, Indiana, and we have over 500 employees there. And that also has a small mixing area, and we do extrusion there, and we also do finishing. And if I forgot to mention, we do dynamic automotive sealing systems. And then our Bremen facility is actually part of the reason why we opened up our Fort Wayne facility. We were up to almost 650 employees in Bremen, and we were really struggling for employees and maintaining employees. It was just horrendous. And part of the reason for the Fort Wayne facility is to pick up some of that slack. And in previous years, when I first came to NISCO, as we also call Nishikawa Cooper, we did have a facility in New Haven that we were in the midst of closure, and we finished that up in 2006 and 7, and then the economy tanked in 2009, and here we are right now with almost double the sales and a projection for increased sales. So we need good employees. We need employees that are more skilled now than your typical factory jobs.
Great. Thanks, Natalie. Next, we have Jelena Hillman from Miller Poultry, and she's going to share with us a little bit about her organization.
Hi, my name is Jelaine, like she said, and I'm from Miller Poultry. Some of you may or may not know where we are. We are located in Orland, Indiana. That's where our processing facility is. However, we do have our own feed mill and hatchery, which is located in New Paris and Goshen. We are fully integrated, except for the egg, which we do order those in, but from that process on, we do everything ourselves. We place eggs in barns, which are predominantly within about a 50-mile radius, or sometimes up to 2 hours from the processing facility. We have, between the 3 facilities, almost 700 employees. And we are the largest employer in Steuben County, which most people don't know. And we're big white building right off 327. A lot of people drive by and have no clue that that's what it is, but that's where we are. And we produce antibiotic-free chicken. We also have an organic program. Some of our biggest customers are Whole Foods, which some of you may or may not have heard of. I think the closest one to us is in Mishawaka. And we do Whole Foods has a division clear out in Colorado, so we go as far west as Colorado, up in through Michigan, around the area, and then down to Kentucky.
Thank you. All right, and our next panelist is Kathy Davis. Kathy is the HR manager at Carlex Glass of Indiana.
Good morning. At Carlex Glass, we manufacture automotive glass. So if you're sitting in your vehicle and looking out your windshield, it's probably made by one of the Carlex facilities. We have 2 manufacturing facilities in Indiana. We have our Auburn, Indiana facility. We have our Ligonier facility. And we also have an assembly center down in Lafayette, Indiana. Our parent company is located in Nashville, Tennessee, with a manufacturing facility there with a float plant, and then in Von Orr, Tennessee. And then we have other small assembly centers that sit next to some of our major customers throughout the United States. We have some huge customers that we supply. We supply to BMW, we supply to Ford, we supply to General Motors, we supply to Chrysler, Subaru, Kia, Toyota, and Honda. So we've hit most of the industry there with automotive glass. So your windshield, your back windshield, your side windows, and also the sunroofs that you guys see in your vehicles could be manufactured within the Carlex Glass family. What we are looking for and what we are trying to find is like everybody else. We're trying to find some employees that want to come and work. You know, a good attitude, that want to learn. So that is one of the reasons that we're here today.
All right, great. Thank you all very much. So as I ask a few questions, we'll just pass the mic back and forth, and any and all of you can answer or have input. So one of the first things I want to talk about, and I know a few of you have already touched on this, is what type of employees that you're looking for your industry and for your organization. And what I'm going to add a little bit to that. Not only what type of employee, but what credential are you looking for them to have when coming for an interview or for, an opportunity?
Well, I can start. One of the first things we look for is a GED or a high school diploma. If they have that, we will train them to do what we need them to do. And there are vast opportunities within the manufacturing industry that we can train someone to do. We know there are high school students out there that do not want to go to college. We know there are people out in the marketplace that college wasn't for them, so they just found a job that they thought they would like to do. We will train them to do whatever we need them to do. We have a 2-week training course that they start in when they start at our facility. So day one, they start with training. And so a good attitude and a high school diploma will get them a long way.
Okay. Go ahead,
I'll go ahead and piggyback that. Same thing. Not everybody coming to our facility necessarily even needs to have a high school diploma as far as being on the production floor there in Orland. However, we are looking for leads and supervisors and maintenance. Maintenance seems to be our biggest hiring problem, as I'm sure I've heard from several people in this room outside of here that that's a concern as well, finding skilled maintenance personnel. I spoke with our maintenance manager before I came.
Uh-oh. Just switch mics.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, he said even if somebody just has the technical degrees, he would like to see something familiar or similar to that. And like you said, if they have some of the basic skills, he's willing to develop that person. We also do internships and co-ops. We recruit at the colleges for interns for our live operation side of things. And we actually have an intern that we had 2 years ago who we just hired. She graduated and now she's back. She called me up a couple weeks ago, said, I'm ready to work. So perfect. She fits right in with our organization. She's from Kendallville. So similar things. We're willing to train, but we just need to bridge the gap a little bit with some of the skills.
Okay. Marty?
Thank you. I agree with your comments. We're looking for the individuals, and one of the big challenges for us is that we're a custom engineered solution company, and we're fully integrated. We do all machining of our components, gear cutting, heat treat, grinding, all and final assembly. Probably 90% of the components are manufactured in the facility right behind us here. And finding good CNC operators is a challenge for us. Also, since we're an engineered solution, just finding the engineering talent we need. We have 6 interns currently, and the engineering area, accounting and marketing, but we are challenged to find interns. We even offered scholarships this past year, 5 scholarships, and I think we had a total of 8 applicants, and that's kind of disappointing because we were really looking how to grow in this area. We've doubled in revenues since 2010. We're going to be doubling again by 2020. And so we're very concerned about having the right talent to help our growth here from the community.
Okay. I'm going to slide this one over for Scott.
We have similar challenges. Probably a little bit different for us is that from a manufacturing standpoint, fiberglass molding and painting is generally not a skill set that people come to us with. In a lot of cases, we're looking to hire for really attitude and a behavior base where the individual is interested in learning. And 90% of the job is just showing up and continue to come day in and day out. So that's a big part of it.
I think for us, the majority of our 1,250 employees are the manufacturing folks. Yes, skills have increased for even those. Our tasks that we are asking our individuals to do are more complex. So we actually changed. We used to have a requirement for a GED or a high school diploma, and we actually went to a behavioral-based online application that helps us get an idea of possibly who that individual is. Like anything else, people can put whatever they want into those applications and get passed, but it's truly, we spend a lot of time in training. We use what's called TWI, which is training within industries. It's a very old type of training on the job for our manufacturing folks. But again, they're some of the jobs are very intense. They have to follow specific instructions. So we're looking for those detail-oriented people that want to join in, which is kind of different than what a lot of us have been taught to. We do want people to think outside of the box, but in an automotive industry, people can't just do the process however they want to. So that's created a big problem for us. And then as the need to reduce headcount for profitability reasons, because the more labor you put into it, the more difficult it is to continue keeping that business. So we have to put automation in, so a lot of robotics, and that takes a different skill set. And that's where what we call a controls engineer, where we have some real difficulties, and I see in the future that will be a skill set that will become more and more difficult. And these are not necessarily degreed individuals. These are individuals that have completed courses towards something, but actually very few degreed individuals.
Kathy, do you have anything you want to add on this, or do you already did you start this off? Marty, anybody?
I know with maintenance, we have had a tremendous amount of trouble finding maintenance employees. And what we finally did was we partnered with Freedom Academy, and we started putting people that had some basic skills and was really interested in maintenance and working on things. And we partnered them with Freedom Academy and are sending them through classes. We have 2 individuals that are doing it right now. And also for our maintenance group to keep them growing and improving, because our manufacturing facility has over 150 robots and automation. We have Freedom Academy working with us again. We've done PLC classes, we've done automation classes, we've got a new class coming up with troubleshooting. So we've used and partnered with some of the institutions in the area to help us grow and continue to educate our workforce so that they stay with us, and then they show that, yeah, I started on the floor as an operator, but look now, I'm in maintenance, I'm making more money, I'm contributing more, and people see that on the floor as a positive example.
There's another skill set too that we really look for, is the ability to communicate and work as a team. We've passed by a lot of engineers that we knew that couldn't communicate to a customer. Maybe a great engineer, but if you can't communicate and get information from your customer, then you're not going to be successful. So I think communication skills and working as a team is critical also. We have probably 12 cross-functional teams going at any one time, either in designing a new product or in lean events. And so it's another critical skill set, is learning how to work as a group and to be successful.
Great. So I hear a lot of you are really talking about more of, when we talk about skill sets, we're looking at core competencies, and whether we call them core competencies, soft skills, employability skills, whatever we call it, we're all still talking about those skill sets that are behavioral based, or that are being driven by that, I call it soft. I know that's not always what we want to call it, but those skills. So we have the right people sitting in this room to talk about how do we bridge that gap How do we partner with our high schools and colleges as employers to make sure that we're communicating or working together to make sure that those soft skills or those employability skills are happening? What's your thoughts on that?
Being one of the employers in Noble County, we have a Manufacturing Education Alliance, and Carlex is part of that group. And what we have done is partnered with the schools in the area to talk about this very subject, about the soft skills, about what a high school student needs to know to come into the manufacturing environment. And along with that, we have also partnered with Freedom Academy again, and we're developing a manufacturing certification program. And what that's going to do is going to teach them some basic manufacturing before they kind of get out of high school or right after they get out of high school. It's going to teach them some basics that are involved in manufacturing. You know, basically, what is manufacturing? What's safety in manufacturing? What's quality? But also some of those soft skills, how to communicate, how to work as a team, and how to work together. So those are some of the things that are happening in Noble County right now, where the Manufacturing Education Alliance has really started that ball rolling and talking to the schools and talking to the educators to show them what needs to be done. Because when we do that in Noble County, then everybody in Noble County benefits from that, and it just gives us a better workforce.
Kind of plug the county there as well. We participated in an opportunity to show teachers kind of what goes on in manufacturing, because I think there's a saying, right, those who have the youth have the future, right? So the teachers have direct input to the students day in and day out. And so if teachers understand directly what those opportunities are, how those jobs can bring benefit to those students and the community, you know, we offer, and you haven't gotten to the question yet, but we offer a tuition reimbursement program as well. So you know, a student can come work while they're going to school and come out of school without debt, having been paid for by the company. Right? So you don't have to necessarily go and get scholarships and things. All those are great, but there's also opportunities well beyond that the students may not know about. So teachers knowing what's there in the county and how to have that access for the students is important. And then having a metric system within the school systems that encourages, you know, the teachers not just to get those college-bound students and the college trips and those activities out, but to show there's a lot of other opportunities out there for students that maybe don't have that as their career path, that can have a great life, they can find what they're good at, and as you've heard from others, you know, start off, make a little bit of money, stay out of debt, learn some life skills, and figure out what it is that you want to do and work into it. There's all kinds of opportunities available. So I think our incentive system behind the teachers and the schools then also needs to recognize that. So as you hear in the news about more, you know, reshoring from the offshoring that took place, right, bringing jobs back to the states, doing things that are really intentional about developing the manufacturing base that we need to recover. That's where we need to be able to push and show that that is just as viable a career path. And you know, Indiana has done a great job on the manufacturing front. I've been fortunate to be part of the Indiana Manufacturers Association, and you know, the Indiana GDP is being pulled significantly by manufacturing, as you've heard from a lot of the companies here in the growth and opportunities. So I think we've got some wonderful things to tell the students and the teachers and be able to put that in place. So it's a system approach, I believe.
Also with that, I have been seeing a lot more students that are coming out of high school that come in to fill out an application, and they can't do that. They can't fill it out completely. They're coming in just dressed like they rolled out of bed. They don't know how to interview. Some of those very basic skills, just to work for us on the production floor, I see that lacking. Also, one thing I would love to do, I know we have job fairs for people that are out of school, but I would love to get into the schools and do job fairs at the school to see high schools invite companies in for a day, for a day to set up your booth, just like I go to the college career fairs and set up. I tried to tap into a couple of our schools to go in and just speak to students, but it was, you know, they just didn't want to give me the time of day. It was just one company that wanted to come in. But I think if more, you know, if the schools worked with all the companies, that might be, you know, to let the students know what's out there.
Our recruiting area is such a large, vast area, and over time, I think that we've gotten away from going into high schools and things like that, and really promoting some of that. I think a lot of the internships went away because there wasn't a lot of participation, but now we're getting back into the discussions. How do we take this to the high schools, and even if it's our local high schools, and there's some other area, what do I want to call it, the alternative schools that are really promoting the manufacturers. So that's one of the things that we're looking into to try to help promote. But I do see the same things with the skill level of people coming in to interview, to fill out applications, the prep of those individuals. They have not been prepared for that.
I agree with the comments. I think we've got to get more venues where students can find out what's out there. I think a lot of students aren't aware of the companies in the area and what are the career potentials. And we find that a lot. Even in this community, I run into people every day that doesn't know who Auburn Gear is and what does Auburn Gear do. And it's the same thing with students. I think more career days or get industry in the schools, I would definitely support participating in those type of events.
I know last year when we were working with Noble County, the students in Noble County we selected, there was a group selected. They did a manufacturing video based on the students' view. And I know it can be viewed on the EDC website for Noble County, but it was really interesting to see the students, when you asked them what manufacturing is, not a lot of them understood it. When you asked them how much you can make in manufacturing, they had no idea. So in connection with the video on what manufacturing is, there was a group of students that went around to various manufacturing facilities and took video of what's being made in Noble County. So they added their perspective to that, and it was very interesting to see the reaction of the students when they were in your company and them watching the manufacturing that was taking place. There was a group in our manufacturing that saw the robots going, and they were just fascinated with that. And it's like that started a discussion on what a job they could get in our facility and what they had to do that. And talking about our automation technicians that actually work on our robots and keep them running. So it was a good conversation between the students and the company, showing what is available out there. And then, once the students start talking, then they're talking to their friends. So that helps everything snowball and gets more of your name out there and helps with the recruiting and things like that.
Great, thank you all very much. I'd like to hear from all of you to ask our panel questions before we go on to some other questions potentially, but I want to make sure we have time. So anyone have a question for our panel?
I'm just wondering how the Carlex, the video that you just mentioned, how did that happen? Like, who coordinated that? How did your company get connected to it? Do you have any information on that? Or does anyone here have information on that?
Rick or Mitch?
I'm coming. Sorry, we're one mic down, so.
Yeah, I'm Mitch Schaefer with Noble County EDC. My boss, Rick Shirk, he coordinated with East Noble's media teacher there, Luke Amstutz, and then we just met with, I think, 4 or 5 different industries. 4 or 5 different industries that we went around to and we got video from. You can find the video on our website or our YouTube channel.
Thanks, Mitch. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I'm here from West Noble, and we do actually have a career day and that's next week on October 1st. So if you would like more information about that, leave me your business card and I will get that to our high school.
Great, thank you. Okay.
I'm curious about hearing what Freedom Academy is.
Freedom Academies, I was going to say, Melissa's sitting right over here. Freedom Academy is an educational institution. It is accredited. We work with them constantly. They will custom design programs for you. They have custom designed several of our programs that we use and that we train our employees, but they have some standard programs also that they use to connect with the employers in Noble County and help them achieve whatever educational goals they need for their workforce.
Okay, great. Yes.
I'd like to ask each of the panelists what your starting wage rate is for folks just coming out of high school, and then if there's a difference for folks that have a 2-year degree or some type of a certificate, and do you have mandatory overtime?
Okay.
Our starting wage coming into the plan is $13 an hour. And after 2 years, they can go to $15 an hour. And that's a basic general labor position. Once they're there, they can move into what we call our skilled pay for skills position, which is running furnaces, grinders, print rooms, things like that. That wage can go all the way up to $18.50 an hour. So that's an expert level that's been there for like 3 years can do that. After that, there's process techs. There's still maintenance positions. I was talking about the automation technicians. They can go in that, and that goes on up to $20, and maintenance goes on up from there. So, you can start out at a low wage at like $27,000 a year, but in a short time, you can be up in the $30,000, $35,000 range, and that's just a basic wage. So that is one of the things that can happen. If somebody's coming in with an associate degree, depends on what field they want to go into. So, your maintenance could be a little bit more. It'll be a little bit more than your starting wage. And if they're in engineering, it could be anywhere in the $40,000 to $50,000 range also.
Okay. Go ahead and pass that off to one of your neighbors there.
We have 2 shifts, so first shift would be $12, second shift would be $12.50 for the production floor. Leads, they can be anywhere around $14 to $15, and then supervisors would be our next step, and they're anywhere from $18 to $20, depending on their experience. And a lot of ours have progressed through the company and moved up, which is really nice. We like to promote from within if we can. Maintenance, that depends on experience as well. We do have 4. Oh no, is it gone?
Here, swap.
We have, we have 4 levels that we classify maintenance folks into, so it depends on which one they fall into. Some of them will start right around 14, 15, depending on what they're doing, and then can be all the way up to 22 or 23. Managers, they're salaried, and unfortunately I'm not privy to that, but otherwise I could give you that. But mandatory overtime, yes. We are working about 6 days a week. Sometimes we get Saturdays off, but they're few and far between. So right now, it is mandatory that they do 6 days.
Shop floor and a machining assembly area could start anywhere around $14, depending on any past experience, and up to 18 if you're in assembly areas. If you get into CNC machining, especially with some of the new technology, we're getting up to $18 to $21 for that area. We have team coordinators that are making between 20 and 25. Engineered solution company, we have probably, like I said earlier, probably 40 or 50 people with engineering or technical degrees. Their salaries range anywhere from $65,000 to $110,000. Depends on what type of design engineering or mechanical engineering type experience you have. Our maintenance, again, very difficult area to hire. Ranges anywhere from like $20 to $28, depending on their experience.
Our starting wage is just under $13 an hour for our production associate, which is our basic entry-level position. And then within 6 months, it goes up to a little over $15 an hour, right around there, depending on your shift premium. And then it sounds like we're pretty much in the ballpark with everyone else that's up here. As far as, I think we have a very competitive wage for our maintenance and technical positions. They're in the $20 range. To answer the overtime question, we have actually worked really hard to try to reduce overtime because of the amount of overtime people were working. There were some departments that hadn't had days off for months. I mean, they were working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and that's really difficult to maintain a workforce doing that. So that's been a hindrance to us. But I think our pay sounds like right along the lines with everyone else.
All right, so we have a comparable wage scale. One thing that we also have is a gain share program. It's based on, part of it's on attendance individually, but then it's collectively based on safety, quality, productivity, and delivery, how well we do as a company. So that is about $1.50 to $2 an hour additional, depending on how we do together. And then we have customers primarily in the ag and construction industry, so we have some cyclicality. And this time of year, we're not working a whole lot of overtime, but from February until June, July, we usually have 6 to 8 weeks.
The past 4 years, we've had a career job expo, and the last 2 years we've held it here, and last year we had over 40 industries, different types of industries participate. And the sad thing is we've only had, on average, about 200 students of DeKalb County, and we would love to have all the juniors and all the seniors join us that day.
I have a question. I'm hearing a lot about needs from an employer being maintenance required. I guess, with the opportunity here with the educators here, what is your vision or expectation of an educator that they need to provide to get you the need that you need to have as an employer? What are you looking for from the educator from your perspective specifically?
That's specific to a maintenance position or to hiring in general?
When I say maintenance, I'm looking at, there's a big need, there's a lot of robotics. It's very high-tech oriented. There's pneumatics, there's hydraulics, there's electronics, a high-skill requirement, which I think all of you mentioned that you need. And I guess here's an opportunity. I'd like to hear from you folks on the panel, what is your expectation from a educator's perspective to provide you with that need? I look at the employer is the customer and the educator is the supplier. If the supplier is not providing what the customer needs, there's a big gap. That's a problem. You're not going to be around. And I'm just wondering, are we doing a good enough job as the educators from a supplier meeting the needs of the customer? And I guess, an opportunity from the panel, what is your expectation? What would you desire to have from the educator to provide, to fulfill your needs? Because you are the customer.
So to answer that in terms of the technical side, good math skills and the ability to read and write well within that so that they can study and learn those technical capabilities. Spatial skills, so 3D drawing, blueprint reading, quality standards, the understanding of how to look at a drawing and understand the technical needs of that drawing, right? The tolerancing, dimensional conversions, English to metric, right? I mean, there's all those things that kind of play into that. And then when I had the opportunity to speak to some educators once in a plant tour, I told them, I said, life is a story problem, right? Nothing exists in a bubble, and it's not always fine, solve for X because you have Y, right? There's not just one input and one output. I mean, there's a lot of different things. So, if you can teach design of experiments and statistical analysis, and if you can give students that basic start in those technical skills and get them interested in that, it builds on their future and their future capabilities.
I think aside from the technical skills, it's problem solving. I see a lot of issues with problem solving. I know a lot of people that can point out all the problems and all the things that aren't going to work, but finding the solutions and having a methodology and the thought process that goes along with that, I think that is truly a benefit for all employees.
Same thing for us with those basic electricity courses, safety courses with OSHA, print reading, schematics, hydraulics, pneumatics. Those are some things that our maintenance manager would like to see. Welding, MIG welding, TIG welding. If there's a metal or welding shop that they can do. Job shadowing. I know, unfortunately, a lot of times in manufacturing, and same thing in our plant, with food processing, they have to be 18 to be out on the floor and actually working on things. So I know that presents a little bit of a problem for some high school students. But if plants are willing to do that, to let people job shadow and get in there and figure things out, I think that would be good for us.
I agree with all those comments. I think giving an opportunity for the student to take and apply what they're learning in those areas, where it be projects or even the job shadowing, is where if you spend a week in an area in a company and just seeing how you take those skills and apply them, I think would be helpful. Even projects where I know we'd love to bring in some students to take part in what we call our think tank events, which is a 5-day event where we actually, a lot of times we have it in this facility, where we actually design a new product. And I'm willing to bring in a couple of students to sit in on one of those just to see how different disciplines come together, interface, and use the skills they've learned to develop a product. And so those type of experiential type things to go along with the classroom learning, I think, is critical.
Questions? Still have another.
I just wanted to follow up on the one comment that was made about being 18. Down in Batesville, Indiana, there's a group that was Ivy Tech, Batesville High School, and several manufacturers, Hill-Rom, Batesville Casket, a couple of others, and they work together to create a program where the student is able to actually work on the floor. I think it's at 16, not 18, and they have a certified trainer and some others that work with them. So there's creative ways of starting students out well in advance of being 18 in order to build those skills. So I don't know if that's commonly known, but that can be done, and you can work in that collective environment in order to do that. So don't think it's all the way.
And I have one thing I want to add on that. Educators in the room? Anybody? Okay. And I'm going to speak on your behalf, and you guys can give me a little feedback on this as well. But I worked in the industry for 13 years, and I've been in education the rest, and consulting. And one of the things that I want your feedback on is these skill sets that we're talking about. It can't only happen in the school system, it has to happen at home. So anybody willing to pitch in and talk a little bit about what that means for your education system, and how are you adapting to that in the school system? Nobody? Great. Oh, great. I was putting myself way out there and I was a little scared.
Well, I'm putting myself way out here too. I think manufacturing, you guys, you have employees in your businesses, and you need to talk up your company and make people want to come and work where you work. If we would try to get a number of kids, and the people at Impact Institute can talk about this a little bit more, but when it's time to sign up to go to Impact Institute, sometimes we don't have enough kids in the Fort County area that want to be a part of a program to even offer it. And so, I think working with your employees to be good parents so that they come to school ready to learn when they're there, talking about with your employees the different jobs that might be available with their children, with your children's friends, promoting the company from within would help out as a baseline. Now, that doesn't help out how we're training them, but I think you'll see when we talk on our panel today, education looks a lot different than when a lot of us were sitting in the classroom. It's rigorous. Teachers are held accountable. You know, there's a teacher shortage in the state of Indiana, and it's not going to get any better. And so I think Chuck had it right when he said we all need to come to the table, not point fingers, but say, how can we work together?
All right, great.
Randy Zimmerly, Superintendent at Westview School Corporation. I think one of the dilemmas we're dealing with right now and one of the difficulties is sometimes policy, in particular, we heard some policy statements and some fairly far-reaching goals that were thrown out. And then embedded in that talk was the requirement to increase the number of credits that are required for a general diploma. And so what we have to understand is while we hear that and we think, oh, that's a great idea, what you've just done is erode the chance for us to actually provide a non-credit experience for kids. And so as we listen to politicians talk to us about the great things that they're doing policy-wise to increase the rigor in the school, what we're really doing is we're making it much, much more difficult for these partnerships to actually develop and us to actually be able to have meaningful experiences to get out there and do some of these things. Now, we can do a better job, perhaps, of implementing programs under the credit umbrella. But quite often, these credits that we're talking about, the increase from 40 to 44, carries with it certain stipulations that really make it very difficult for us to experience and really create these partnerships. And so when you hear those kind of statements that are made, try to challenge and try to seek to understand, well, what exactly are you doing to the schools? Because really the question you started with, what do you need as an employer? I think that was the first question you folks all answered for us. What I heard, attitude, get to work on time, be willing to work for $12.50 an hour, and we've got your job. Okay? Now, the maintenance question, which he brought up, now have other skills that fall into that. And that's the challenge I think that we have is, okay, how do we motivate kids beyond what your initial response was to that employee, what do I need for an employee question? And the question had two pieces. One was, what do you need skill-wise? The other was, what do you need certification-wise? We heard that completion means getting that piece of paper at the end. For you guys, it sounds like completion means a good employee who's willing to work. So what is the definition of completion? Is it a diploma? Is it an actual piece of paper or a certification, as we heard from the first speaker? Or is completion a meaningful job, making enough money to raise a family and have a quality life? What is completion? So I think we've got some definitions out here we've got to really struggle with. I'm, I guess, as confused now as when I started. I'm anxious to see how the rest of the day unfolds. Maybe I can get some clarity as to what do we really need and what is completion in terms of developing our students and developing a workforce for you, our employers.
Thanks, Randy. You know, again, I think it's a lot of, too, that just the working together, and I completely respect what you're saying about having the time to do that. But I think today's a start, right? Bringing everybody to the table, the willingness to work together and get started. So, Kate, do you have a question? I do. All right. Anybody from DWD want to talk about that? Okay, go ahead.
I'm also going to go back to the maintenance piece, because initially several of you went through and said basic skills for maintenance. And when I think basic skills, I think graduating high school, maybe having a job beforehand. But then when we went through specifically, I was hearing things like statistics, electrical engineering, OSHA training. And to me, that doesn't sound very basic. That sounds path intensive or path specific. So is there any kind of place where you as a company define your basic skills for each job and how that kind of lays out?
And that would be yes. We have job descriptions, and so for an entry level, there'd be certain specifics. You guys kind of caught me on the fly, so we're just kind of giving you an idea of some of the things that are in there. But yes, there are basic skills, and we could provide that outside of this meeting to define what our basic skill needs are for our maintenance and technical, because it's not just maintenance, it's technicians and things like that, which, you know, kind of follows along in that category, but is a little bit different. But I did want to say something about the administrator. Can I make a comment on the time before? I will say, you know, there is a lot of different levels of individuals. People are raised differently. We typically react to other people. We view them according to our own feelings, our own experiences, and our own knowledges. And I think there's a vast number of people that may not be in a high school that may not know where they're going. Some know they're going to college automatically. They don't know what that means. But I think the reality of it is there's always going to be a need for individuals that are not going to go for higher education. They may do specific learnings for their job to increase their skills, but we have to look out for those individuals. Those are the entry-level individuals that may get in there. And I'll be honest, I started in manufacturing on a floor. I've driven forklifts, I've driven overhead cranes, I've used every kind of cutting equipment. You'd be surprised what I've done. And I didn't do the traditional start in college. I started a family, went working, got a degree, got another degree, and moved on. So I think we have to consider there's an array of people out there, and we have to look out for everyone.
Definitely follow your career path. I think a lot of times you're right. People are simply looking for something. They just are really not sure what they want to do yet. People may have expectations for them, but they're not certain what they want. So getting in with an organization is critical, and where it can take you really is up to them. So any other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Bob Kraft with the YMCA. I heard a lot of comments about you all have training opportunities within your companies to give a lot of those technical skills that you need that are specific for each job. So my question would be, and then we've kind of alluded to a little bit of the soft skills and the lack thereof in our society. And so my question is the higher need for you folks, soft skills, people that will come to work, people that are excited, people that are motivated or want to better themselves, or is it the technical skills? Which one is the highest need?
I will go with the first, the soft skills, because I can train you on the technical part. It's having the skills to come in and want to be there and want to work and be engaged in the workforce to get you in the door is what I need the most. You know, you get in there and you start finding something you like, I will train you to do whatever you want to do, but I just got to get you in the door.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the same thing. And just like her with Miller Poultry, I went in as a supervisor on the floor. And in 6 months, you know, they started needing some help in HR and figured out real soon, you know, very quickly that I had those skills. So I moved up. All of our leads that are in our plant have moved up. You know, when we started them, they didn't know that they had those skills, but they started to show those skills. And the coming to work and being on time, yeah, we can teach you how to run a saw or a knife or the lines, but farm kids have a really good background, you know, with maintenance. We do like that. I would encourage people to maybe push your students towards 4-H. It's not just animals. And actually, a little tidbit of information that some of you might not know, 87% of students who finish a 10-year 4-H program go to college. So they do have the knowledge.
I would say the same thing, but I would elaborate on that a little bit on one end, and I would plug the Y and say, you know, I really think that, you know, in today's environment, right, we put a big focus on wellness. So, that not just physical well-being, but also mental, spiritual well-being, and being connected with others and those around you. So, we've been blessed, and our approach is we need to be a good corporate citizen as well as individual citizen, and that's kind of how we try to approach it. So, we get involved with United Way, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring that up and encourage all the employers and everyone out here to be part of that opportunity and provide that. But to have faith-based initiatives and groups where you're able to be involved to connect up with others, to learn some of those skills. It's not just about the individual and what they can do, it's what you come together to be. So those soft skills are critical. If you've got those, you can learn the technical skills, you'll find your right place.
All right, go ahead, Amy.
Hi, my name is Amy Marsh. I'm with the Department of Workforce Development. Just wanted to jump in on Kate's comment earlier and to your conversations around policy. The Commissioner Lubbers spoke to you this morning about the proposed changes to the diploma. Those are set to be voted on by the State Board of Education in November at their November meeting, and they are going to hold a public hearing in advance of that meeting, I think in October. There are a number of elements in their proposed changes that will also likely have to be approved by the state legislature. So there is plenty of opportunity for you to express any thoughts that you have to either your state legislator or to state board members to attend the public hearing. It's not really a hearing, but it'll be a small group. It'll be an additional meeting of the state board where they will hear public comment. It is especially important, I think, for both educators and employers to know what is in those proposed changes and to have your voices be heard, whether some of the changes you may think are really positive changes, other things you may want to weigh in on, like I'm hearing today. Certainly have your voice heard. Make sure that you understand what those are, or you understand that those who vote on these things understand what you feel about those things. You can find those proposed diploma changes both on the Department of Education website and on the State Board of Education websites, and those are www.in.gov/SBOE for State Board of Education. The DOE is doe.in.gov, so just flip it around. And then in search boxes, you can very easily find proposed diploma changes. So I would encourage you to do that and to know what those are.
I think we are out of time, so we'd like to thank our panelists